Every family has secrets, but some are sharp enough to sever the ties of blood and love forever. What do you do when the person you should trust most in the world becomes the architect of your deepest pain? These are stories of unthinkable betrayal, impossible choices, and the brutal aftermath of shattered loyalty. As you listen, you will become the judge in conflicts that tear families apart, leaving you to answer the ultimate question: who is truly in the wrong? My sister, who is 34, and I, a 32-year-old woman, are no longer on speaking terms. I made the decision to remove her from my life 7 years ago after discovering she had been intimate with my then-fiancé, who is 34, and that her 2-year-old daughter was his child, as was the baby she was pregnant with at the time. In a single moment, I ended my relationships with both my ex-fiancé and my sister. I informed her that, to me, she was dead, and I made it clear to my family that she would no longer be a part of my life. They were supportive and made an effort to keep us separated, finding the palpable tension and my hatred for her more unbearable than the alternative of never having us together in the same room. I am now married to my husband, Luke, and together we have 3 children, all toddlers and younger. He is fully aware of my history and understands why I want nothing to do with my sister ever again. This is something he comprehends deeply, as his own brother slept with most of his ex-girlfriends while he was still in relationships with them, so we share the understanding that siblings can sometimes be the worst. My sister is now married to my ex, and they have 2 girls together. My ex became disabled last year following a workplace accident, and subsequently, my sister was diagnosed with a medical issue. They have faced immense struggles to maintain a home and provide for their children. My parents and some extended family members have stepped in to provide assistance. Last month, my sister's husband required surgery, which intensified the pressure on them. I have heard all of this information through other people. I have never reached out or offered any support. Her husband was hospitalized again a week ago, and my sister followed. Luke and I were asked if we would take their children. I refused. My sister found me through social media and told me that she needed me now, insisting that we are sisters above all else, and that her family required my help. I told her I would never help her or her family. She questioned how I could be so cold. This is the point where my family feels I am in the wrong. They argue that my sister's children are innocent and that I should want them in my life. They believe my sister is enduring a nightmarish period and that I should set aside my hurt and anger to at least offer some assistance, because we are blood relatives who grew up together. I told them I could never do that. While I fully acknowledge her kids are innocent, they are still her children, and I do not have it in me to invite any form of access to her through them. They are all quite angry with me now, saying I've taken this too far. Some people say I'm not the idiot, that what my sister did was incredibly cruel. They argue that if she wanted to play the family card, she should have considered it long ago and not slept with her sister's fiancé. Family members don't do that. It is not my responsibility. She showed no regard for family when she slept with her sister's fiancé for years and became pregnant twice behind her back. How is that family? But when she needs help, suddenly family ties are paramount. Others say blood does not make a family, and she can turn to the side of the family or other people for help, but trying to use the one person she betrayed so profoundly is disgusting. The guilt tripping is the worst part, as if my feelings are irrelevant. Yes, the children are innocent, but they are not my responsibility. They have other family members who can care for them. So why should I be the one to step in? So she can try to sleep with my new husband? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It is time to elevate the dead to me status to include no news and no updates via relatives. However, another viewpoint is that I am the idiot, that I'm choosing to be lifelong angry at my sister because of a man, and also choosing to have nothing to do with her kids, who are completely innocent. They didn't wrong me in any way. To them, I am their aunt, and I'm choosing to let them believe I don't love them. This person thinks it is time to get over myself, forgive, and move on. After all, it is my sister, my nieces. But in what universe is moving on equivalent to allowing toxic, lying people back into your life? You can move on by no longer associating with them. Problem solved. Furthermore, the idiom blood is thicker than water originates from the battlefield, meaning the blood shared in battle is thicker than the water of the womb, suggesting that your chosen family, with whom you have endured hardship, holds more value than shared DNA. My wife, Elle, and I've been married for 1 year now. Previously, Elle had a career as a sports model. Her profession demanded that she adhere to an extremely strict beauty standard and maintain a specific appearance. Consequently, she was always on a restrictive diet and was severely underweight. Since then, she has gained a healthy amount of weight and muscle and is much happier. My brother, Chris, is wealthy, excessively so. He has been very successful for himself and seems content with his life. He recently finalized a nasty divorce with his ex-wife and has asked to stay with me for a few weeks while he moves into his new place. To put it simply, Chris has a type. He believes every woman should subscribe to his ideal, and any woman who does not fit his preference is automatically deemed ugly and unlovable. He expects all women to conform to his standards, regardless of anything else. 2 days ago, Chris came across some of Elle's old magazine covers and commented on how beautiful she was back then. It was a harmless comment on its own, but he persisted in bringing up how much she has let herself go. He kept mentioning it. Elle goes for a run every evening, and as she was leaving, Chris told her to run fast enough to lose all the flabby bits. She rolled her eyes and laughed it off, but I told him to shut up. The following day, as Elle was heading to the gym, he told her to make sure she returned to her model figure. Again, I told him to shut up and to stop fixating on my wife's body. Despite all his comments, Elle remains relatively unfazed, saying she's used to it. By the end of the day, I was completely exhausted from listening to him. Finally, I reached my limit, but Elle once again brushed him off with a smile and a laugh. Then, as Elle served him dinner, he joked about paying for a tummy tuck so that I could marry the right version of Elle, the right version being the skinnier one. That comment set me off. I told him that his wife had married the wrong version of him and to pack his things and leave my house. He did not react well to this, complaining about how insensitive I was to his situation and how I had made a low blow. He eventually left, but Elle tells me I could have kicked him out without making that comment. Opinions on this were that it was a low blow about his divorce, but given the revolting nature of his comments and the fact that he explicitly insulted my wife while I was providing him a place to live, it makes my reaction understandable. I'm only human and was far more polite than others would have been. There was no reason for him to pick on my wife or comment on her body. While I didn't need to explain myself when telling him to leave, if he can't handle unsolicited criticism, he shouldn't be dishing it out himself. Some suspected he might have been trying to wear my wife down to make her more receptive to his advances, finding his comment about marrying the right version particularly suspicious. My brother is proof that money doesn't buy class, and if this is his attitude towards women, this will likely be one of many divorces in his future. My 29-year-old fiancé and I are engaged. Her fiancé, who is 33, has a best friend, Jason, who is the brutally honest type who tells it like it is. He has admitted that he is not good at keeping his thoughts to himself. My fiancé says he loves him despite his flawed personality and expects me to let it go whenever he makes backhanded comments about me and my past. Jason was the first person invited to our wedding, and my fiancé promised me he would make him behave. Recently, my fiancé and I discovered we are expecting. We went to my future in-laws' house to share the news, and Jason was already there. After dinner, my fiancé and I stood up to make the announcement. Everyone rushed to congratulate us, except for Jason, who remained seated and, I admit, kept looking directly into my eyes in a strange manner. I tried to avoid his gaze, but he eventually got up, hugged my fiancé, looked at him, and said 3 words, "Man, paternity test. Pronto." I was completely floored. Everyone was shocked but tried to act normally, likely to defuse the tension. But I walked up to Jason and asked him to repeat what he had said. He tried to back away, as my face was inches from his. He said something like, "Chill, it was just a joke," but I kept demanding he repeat his words. Finally, my fiancé stepped in between us and told me to take a seat and calm down. I went off on Jason, calling him an insensitive idiot and declaring that he was officially uninvited from the wedding after he accused me of being unfaithful. Jason yelled some things about me being a drama llama and that he meant no harm, then left in a hurry. My fiancé and his mother agreed that I had a right to be upset, but they said that uninviting him from the wedding was going too far. My fiancé insisted that Jason was just joking and that I had blown up over nothing. We went home, and I sort of broke down in the bathroom without letting my fiancé see, because he still believed I was overreacting even after I explained how I felt about his friend ruining my joy and humiliating me in front of my in-laws. People largely agree that Jason wasn't telling it like it is. He was being incredibly insulting. I was absolutely within my rights to confront him forcefully. Accusing me of cheating is not acceptable. Furthermore, if Jason truly had a reason to believe I was unfaithful, the appropriate setting to bring it up would have been in a private conversation with my fiancé, not in front of the entire extended family. He is no friend. He enjoys the drama he creates. The consensus is that I should tell my fiancé he can have Jason at the wedding, or me, but not both. My fiancé needs to step up and be a partner who does not allow people in his life to treat me with such disrespect. Jason is using honesty as a front to be an idiot, and my fiancé needs to understand that letting his friend treat me and our unborn child this way is an insult not only to me, but to him as well. As a 32-year-old woman, I must say I respectfully hate wedding culture and all the heavy weight it carries. Personally, I find it pointless and exhausting to have a big wedding just for everyone else to enjoy except the couple. I've been through it once before. My future in-laws are very traditional people. Thankfully, my fiancé is not like that, and I was able to convince him how overrated traditional weddings are. The in-laws, however, very clearly want a traditional wedding with all the trimmings. A big party, a large venue, a full wedding party, a private photographer, a fancy, expensive wedding dress to impress the guests, a huge variety of food options, as well as DJs, and who knows what else. As we were in the process of planning, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law came to see me with a list of where to begin. I felt nauseous just looking at it. I asked why all the hassle and exaggeration were necessary. She replied, "Well, that's how it's done in the family." I told her I was sorry to hear that, but my fiancé and I had already decided on a small party in our spacious backyard, with me wearing a humble purple dress and with Etta James's At Last playing in the background. My sister-in-law looked at me and asked if I was serious. The next thing I knew, my mother-in-law nearly fainted, which completely freaked me out. She then regained her strength and started yelling at me, accusing me of trying to make a joke out of her son and the family, and demanded I stick to the list she provided. I called my fiancé to come home, but his dad and aunt arrived first, and they all began arguing with me about how crazy my plan was and how they would not let me ruin my own and their son's wedding. When my fiancé got home, he retracted everything we had agreed upon. I got so mad at him and asked him why, and he said he didn't think his family would react so strongly. I argued with him as well, especially after his family threatened not to attend the wedding if I went through with this crazy plan. They criticized me endlessly, saying they didn't understand why I was doing this when I had enough money and time to have a respectable, worthy wedding like everyone else in the family. They called me a bridezilla, trying to dictate the wedding from start to finish. They also implied that just because I'd had a wedding before, it didn't mean I should make light of this one. We are still arguing about it, and my fiancé keeps saying he doesn't want his family to miss our wedding and is asking me to reconsider what we had previously planned. Many would suggest putting the wedding on hold until my fiancé grows a spine, seeing this as a preview of how the marriage will be, with his family dictating our entire life if he doesn't stand up to them now. It seems we aren't ready to get married. There are a few ways this could go. I cave, spend the money, have the big party, and hate my own wedding. He caves, and his family never lets me live it down. Or we elope, and no one gets the wedding they want. Either way, we need to talk this through again. A different perspective suggests that everyone is the idiot here. While it is my wedding, it is also my significant other's wedding too. My statement that I was able to get him to see how overrated traditional weddings are sound a bit dubious. Perhaps he wanted a traditional one all along. There should have been clearer communication instead of his in-laws dictating everything. The fiancé is being pushed around from both sides, and nobody seems to be asking him what he truly wants. He needs to be able to speak up for himself before he even considers marrying someone. I fully believe I am in the right in this situation, but my family keeps saying I am the idiot, and I would like an outside opinion. For context, my dad has supported me unconditionally and has repeatedly told my mother to knock it off. He was just as devastated when I couldn't go. A couple of years ago, I was accepted into a fancy, advanced online program for school because I was leaps and bounds ahead of my classmates. Part of my acceptance was contingent on a difficult test. If you score high enough, you get into the online program. If you score even higher, you can get into advanced boarding schools. When I took the test the first time, I didn't score high enough to go to the boarding schools, which was fine by me. However, I discovered that I struggled and failed because of the online nature of the program I was in, and it was beginning to affect my future opportunities. Because of this, I took the test again to try to get into a boarding school. This time, I scored high enough to go, and I was ecstatic. I'd spent over a year putting in the effort and the work to get in, and I was offered a spot. This all came to nothing. However, when my mother decided to refuse my spot for me, since I was a minor, she had the right to deny it. She was raised Catholic and is severely emotionally and verbally abusive. Going to boarding school was my escape, a way to get out from under her thumb. But she refused it because she was having a baby with her new, younger husband and needed a free babysitter. Here is where I might be the idiot. This happened a year ago, and I still hate her for it. I refuse to involve her or speak to her about anything related to my schooling. She has been complaining that she doesn't understand why I cut her out of that part of my life. But I cannot bring myself to start fights with her when I know exactly how they will end. People agree that I am not the idiot. She ruined my future because she was selfish, and it's understandable that I wouldn't want anything to do with her. She is only complaining because she lost her free babysitting. She does not miss me. You cannot forgive someone who couldn't care less about the damage they've caused. My mother stole my future from me, and my family, except for my dad, is not accepting of my feelings. No one can dictate my emotions. If I want to forgive my mom and get close in the future, that's my choice. If I want to cut her out of my life for good, that is also my choice. A year is not a very long time to come to terms with what happened. I would be horribly angry too if my hard work were thrown away for purely selfish reasons. Unfortunately, that is what my mother did, and it is a hard lesson to learn, one I hope in time I do not repeat with my own children. I'm so sorry that happened to me. You do not have to like or trust someone who behaves that way. And for my own protection, I probably shouldn't.